and here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Throttling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bags, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equination.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes, you bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Well, hello again. It's another Falcon 9 launch. It's another Starlink launch. It's one of those regular cadence situations where we're seeing lots of satellites being launched, especially Starlinks, into orbit. So we've got another coverage with an hour to go for the Starlink 1033 mission out of Slick 14, Florida. Joining us for this one is behind the scenes Jake Egan, the producer, who I'm now learning to thank first, because without the producer, we won't be able to do this. So it's very important we do. Also behind the scenes, I've not thanked before, is Gage. Now, when you start seeing some of those remote tracking shots we got from our robots, those are usually Gage tracking with a mouse pad. It's amazing how Gage does it. I don't know how he does it. It's like he must be some expert gamer as far as I'm concerned. Out in the field, physically, we've got Jerry Pike. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, good morning. It's still morning. Yeah, it's a little bit of a delay on this one, but it's in the morning, and we're out here in the field at the Kennedy Space Center press site, and weather could be better, to put it lightly, but it's a decent morning.
And also joining Jerry out there is Max. Hello, Max.
Good morning, everybody. And yes, while I'm not sitting next to Jerry, I'm currently in my car, shielded from the ever-present winds that are blowing and just being all blustery and annoying right now. But yeah, it is typical Starlink behavior, pushing to the very end of the window so far. But of course, hopefully Falcon 9 gets off the ground today.
Yep, and we've also got Marty. Hello, Marty.
Hello, Chris. Hello, everyone. Good morning, or, well, whatever time it is where you are. It's a sunny afternoon out here where I am, so I'm trying to send as much of that as I can over to Florida, and I'm hoping we'll get a very nice launch today.
Yeah, we were talking before I went on air about how the tourism board adverts for Florida, such as Disneyland Orlando, they show nothing but blue sky over Florida. Come to Florida, get a tan. Go and see Disney. Go and see... They never actually advertised the actual rockets that launch from there, which is weird. It's always about Disney and water worlds and what have you. But we know better because it tends to be kind of cloudy a lot of the time. I mean, what is the latest weather situation out there, Max? Is it okay for launch at least?
It's concerning. I think that's the proper word to use here regarding weather. So, regarding the last forecast that we had from the 45th Weather Squadron here, based at the Patrick Space Force Base, which is a part of the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, sort of in the way it's run. At the beginning of the window, there was only a 25% probability of a weather-related violation. But of course, now we are towards the end of the window at 10:35 a.m. local time is when the window closes. The current T0 being 10:20 is now up to a 60% chance of a weather-related violation, and I believe that is down to mostly concerns regarding the cumulus cloud and thick cloud rules. And judging just by what the Mark 1 eyeballs are looking at right now, I believe it. But also, it is very blustery right now, and I think we are currently in a wind advisory right now here at the Kennedy Space Center, and probably the same over at the Cape, being right on the Atlantic Ocean, probably somewhere in the realm of an 18-knot steady-state wind warning right now. So, not a game or a deal breaker today by any means, but weather has been far from ideal this morning, and hopefully that all turns around tomorrow for a few days. But we are in that we are in that period of time right now where we're transitioning from winter into spring, and usually this is when we get lots and lots of winds and cloud cover for a couple of weeks. But alas, that should hopefully pass. Regarding booster recovery weather, we are looking at a low to moderate risk, which is also a key watch item, being that Falcon 9 is heading off on a northeast trajectory today, and the seas up in the Atlantic off of the coast of the Carolinas, which is where they would normally land when they're flying north, tends to be somewhat spotty in terms of swell height and duration in between. So that is a key watch item for today, amongst other weather here at the launch site. So it's not it certainly is not a deal breaker for today yet, but it's not ideal, I guess, is a fair way to put it.
Very good. Yes. It was something that was expected to launch earlier. People were in chat when it was initially the window for launch and wondering why we pushed it several hours when SpaceX's website didn't update. There was an update problem with the SpaceX public website, but we did know via having people there, such as Max and Jerry, and also the fact that SpaceX's actual live stream itself was pushed several hours, that we knew that they'd moved to the end of the window. There is no other opportunities in this window, is there, Max? This is end of the window time now?
This is very end of the window, but I believe this is the last T0 they have as well. So the window opened at about 6:35 a.m. this morning and closes at 10:35, keeping in theme with the typical 4-hour Starlink windows. So, very, very at the very end of the window, and also Falcon 9 did not even go vertical until about maybe 5:40 this morning, which is obviously awfully late for a 6:35 window opening T0. And of course, usually they need about 3 hours between going vertical and launching, which is what we are seeing today, maybe a bit more. But yeah, it was quite concerning to pull up this morning, early this morning, should I add, and see Falcon 9 not even vertical at the pad yet. It's always kind of concerning, but alas, here we are.
Very good. We'll get onto the mission itself as we get closer, because we're looking at T-minus 35 minutes when prop load should start. So that's when we'll start talking about some of the payloads and missions. But I did ask in chat, I'm actually watching live chat right now, but if you do an NASA spaceflight followed by your question, it'll go into our panel. So if it falls off the end of the chat, it doesn't matter. I can come back to it and click on it. I mistakenly put, you can also ask shuttle questions because I'm on. And I got a lot of shuttle questions. Oh my goodness. So, there's actually quite a cool thing here. There's a little segue. That diabetic kid notes that they advertise rocket launches on billboards along the highway. Max, is that something you see regularly, that they actually have like rocket launch kind of like adverts along the highways on that part of Florida?
They do. So the main highway that goes along the eastern side of Florida is I-95, and that goes all the way up from Jacksonville and also north into Georgia and the Carolinas. But that is the main highway on the eastern coast of Florida. And once you get into Brevard County, which is the county that the Cape and the KSC are in, you do see a bit of ads with like cruise ships, some like wetland with wildlife. And then also, of course, you get some ads for the Space Center as well. And of course, once you're on Highway 528, which is what connects Cocoa Beach and the Cape to Orlando and the airport over there, there are separate signs that say Cocoa Beach and then towards the Kennedy Space Center. So, there are certainly signs and ads in the area. Maybe I'm just not driving around those areas enough to see them, but they are certainly around.
And Jerry, there's a fun thing here. Obviously, it was a fun question from Ryan saying when shuttle launch, but I remember Julia telling me that to this day, sometimes people turn up and they see people going out to a rocket launch and going, which shuttle is launching? There's still some people who think the space shuttle is launching, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've definitely heard that 100%. Maybe not the which shuttle specifically, but I do hear quite frequently like we're going to go watch the shuttle launch today. And I'm not sure if it's more of just like a general, like, it's like that's what they're used to saying, or like, but it's definitely a thing for sure. The shuttle launch still definitely happens in some people's mind out here, but this is definitely not a orbiter, space shuttle, STS, whatever you want to call it. None of the above today.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, it's Hollywood's got a lot to blame. Hollywood still tends to use the space shuttle as their rocket of choice when they need to launch astronauts into space. Although that is changing. I've noticed in most new films, they tend to now realize that launching the space shuttle has to be sort of like preempted as we're bringing it out of retirement. I think it was Moonshot or something. It was one of the silly movies on Netflix had the shuttle Endeavour brought out of the museum in California and launched with one SRB, which is wrong.
Wouldn't that be something?
Level. Was it?
Wouldn't that be something? A space shuttle slider.
Oh, it was just all shades of wrong. I nearly walked out of Armageddon when I saw it in the movies because they had the SSME still firing after the external tank was jettisoned, but that was just me.
Oh, jeez.
But this was really bad. I mean, this is not happening at all. I'm going to go around the houses. Marty, I'm going to be coming to you about facts about Falcon 9 and Starlinks and what have you, but I will start off with this one, the final shuttle question, which was your favourite space shuttle?
My favourite? Well, I think if you launch Hubble, then you're my favorite. So that would be Discovery.
Fair enough. Okay. I was going to ask Jay, type in the background. And so Gage as well, type in the background your favorite shuttle. I'll read them out for you. Jerry, what was your favorite shuttle?
I think I will also have to jump on the Discovery bandwagon here. It's definitely one of the ones that I've got the pleasure to see at the up close, and it's definitely a cool one for me.
Fair enough, Max.
I'm also going to say Discovery as well, because it has spent the most time in space of the orbiters that are still around. It launched Hubble and it launched both return to flight missions after Challenger and Columbia. So there's certainly a lot of history on the back of Discovery, and I think it's also the most direct relative of Columbia and Challenger as well, which always holds very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, Discovery is the best shuttle, no question.
Okay. Chat's joining in. Luckily, myself and Jay are both in the Atlantis gang. Our rationale is because she is the best shuttle. There's no need to explain further. Alex is also no. I'm sorry, it's facts. I'm hosting, Max. I can move on.
He's gone mad with power, everybody.
I got mad with power. Mad with power. Alex is not an Endeavour. Is the favourite shuttle of Alejandro Romero. I've been trying to practice it. How was that, Alex? I'm not going to do it again because I'll butcher it, but I'm trying best to get your full name out. It's just like for a Yorkshireman, that kind of like flamboyant name doesn't work for me at all. I just can't do it. I want to thank Jeff, who's become a PadRat member, as has Aquarius become a PadRat member. You've become members. And by the way, members at all levels, including PadRat, get access to more stuff such as the multi-streams that hopefully we'll be doing for the likes of, well, definitely for SLS, I would say. Maybe for Starship Flight 12, maybe, question mark. Is it going to be a month away? I don't know. That's pushing it. I'm not going to false advertise Flight 12. It's definitely happening in a month. There's a lot of things to happen yet with that. But let's get back onto this Starlink. Marty, 1033. Let's talk about 1033. What booster is it and what's it doing? How many Starlinks?
So the booster on the pad is booster B1077, and it's getting ready for its 27th flight. So just fun fact, it's the fourth booster, the fifth booster to fly for the 27th time. And in its previous history, it has flown missions such as Crew 5, GPS-3, SV-06, the CRS-28 cargo mission to the International Space Station, and also the Cygnus NG-20 mission, and a couple of other missions, and 19 Starlink missions. And of course, this is another Starlink mission, Group 10-33. And for that, its fairing is loaded with 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites, which will be delivered into low Earth orbit. What more is there to say? Well, the booster will be recovered by Just Read the Instructions, which is out there in the Atlantic waiting for the booster to return. And the fairings will also be recovered by fairing recovery ship Bob. So, as usual, SpaceX is reusing fairings and the booster as well. What else is there to say? Probably a lot. But I'm getting lost in my fact sheet right now. So, yeah.
This is the fun thing, though.
Any specifically? Sorry?
This is the fun thing. Look at this. Past Starlink missions. The booster, 27 missions. We're kind of getting so used to it. We kind of lose the kind of like, oh my goodness factor with the fact that SpaceX has this stable, no horse reference, of boosters where they're having this numbering system such as this one, 1077. It's not even the oldest, not even the most famous booster. That's got 27 missions to its name. You know, it's only 27th
It's
mission.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Max, how many boosters do you think SpaceX has got? I don't know if we actually know how many Falcon 9s they have in their kind of like back pocket to launch all these missions without counting the new ones that do test at McGregor and bring online. But I think it's about 20 boosters, maybe?
It's somewhere in the realm of between like 20 and 25, somewhere in there between both the east coast of Florida and then also Vandenberg out in California. I think it's 23. I think we've also talked about it on stream before, but I can never remember exactly how many boosters they have. But I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 and 25. Although the vast majority of those boosters are here in Florida because the launch cadence is so high, and they do have 2 available pads. Even though Pad 40 is the current workhorse and focus for single stick Falcon 9 missions. LC-39A, historic LC-39A is primarily going to be focused now for Falcon Heavy missions and then also Starship, hopefully by the end of this year. So Falcon 9 will be launching from Pad 40 for really the foreseeable future, averaging a turnaround time between 2 and 4 days right now, which is remarkable.
Now, you're probably wondering, there's a rocket launch, Chris. Why are we showing the VAB and the American flag? Well, 2 reasons. The American flag is, I mean, I'm an Englishman, and I find the American flag probably the best looking flag there is. So it's a beautiful flag, and it's iconic. I think I've got so used to it. You know what, Max? I think I've got so used to it because it is iconic when you get into space flight as a young kid, and you see this big American flag on the side of the vehicle. It kind of like, to me, that was very much America. And then, of course, I'm a child of the 80s, and any 80s UK child in here will know that we had the staple of UK shows such as the A-Team, Knight Rider, Airwolf, The Fall Guy, all those cool American shows where if you were an 80s UK kid, the dream was to go to America and sort of like see that for real, even though that's not a real representation of America. But it was like, it really is. No, we're all like American files, if you could call it that, from my age group at the very least. But the reason why we've got showing these views, sorry, I went on a rabbit hole there. The reason why we're showing these views is because there has been a rain ban come in. So we had to bag some of our remote cameras out there and to save them from getting completely soaked, which would be bad for cameras. So that's why we're doing it. Jay Keegan's in the background. Max, is it going to just pass over, or is it going to stick around for a while?
You know, I'm looking at the radar right now, and there's been some weather kind of encroaching from the northwest out in the Atlantic for quite some time, since about maybe 8 o'clock this morning. It's been ebbing and flowing in terms of how much comes up and goes away as it approaches the coast. It's very scattered in nature, but it is coming this way. It looks like it is beginning to localize and all come together somewhat in that area, but also because Falcon 9 is flying northeast today, that's somewhat in the direction that's going to be flying, and it's coming right towards us here at the KSC press site and also Pad 40 as a result. So a bit of a question mark there as we are coming up within now about 2.5 minutes from the go, no-go poll from the SpaceX launch director to verify if the vehicle and ground systems are go for propellant load. That will be the mark of time where we may or may not see a delay in the countdown. I'm not trying to manifest this, I promise, but we may or may not see a hold in the countdown, and depending on what the weather wants to do and whether or not they think that Falcon 9 can fly through this or that it will clear. So yeah, that is coming up in just about a couple of minutes from now at T-minus 38. Assuming the go is given, fuel will begin to flow into the vehicle at T-minus 35 minutes in terms of stage 1 LOX or liquid oxygen, and also RP1, and then also RP1 on the upper stage as well, stage 2. So that will commence at T-minus 35, and we should see our first visual indicators at around T-minus 31 or 32 minutes. But maybe not today, at least for now, because there is some rain over at the pad right now, and our cameras have been bagged. But hopefully we should know whether or not they're going to be proceeding here in just a few minutes, whether it be from the clock on the website or from a tweet somehow, even though we haven't had one of those in quite some time.
No, we haven't, and it will be a case of just basically watching the countdown because it's going to be 4 minutes time when we start there. We're doing a no-go poll. That's always a tongue twister right now. I just want to thank Astro Ellie, who's noted that she's become 18 months as a Capcom member despite joining NSF as a writer. Ellie, I've made you a a blue wrench because it doesn't mean you have to moderate and it doesn't mean you're a moderator. I always like to have NSF people who work at NSF to have that blue name because I think it's important to show the difference between, sort of like, well, I do actually write for NSF. So Ellie, you're now a blue wrench. There we go. It's not the most common. It's not a common compliment you could ever give anyone, but there you go. That's what you are now. Brad has also done a super chat. Thank you for that. Thank you, Sport. It does help a lot. It really does. Even though we're a big channel, our costs are ridiculous. So everything we get from our community really makes a difference. When is the next Falcon Heavy launch, and what is the payload? Max, I'm coming back to you for that because I know you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, because that is a rocket that we don't see a whole lot nowadays. The last one we saw was back in October of 2024 with the launch of the Europa Clipper for NASA, literally the day after Starship Flight 5 in the first ever catch of a Super Heavy booster, Booster 12. I watched that one from the beaches right next to the launch site. It was really cool. But again, Falcon Heavy is a very, very rare beast. We don't see it fly too often right now because there isn't a crazy amount of demand, and that vehicle weighs or wears a lot of a Pad 39A. And yeah, we haven't seen one fly in about a year and a half now, which is kind of sad. But good news is we should be able to see the next one, currently I believe targeting the end of April, although there is no actual date given yet or time. But we are currently seeing a net end of April for the next Falcon Heavy mission, and it is for it is the Viasat 3 payload, similar customer or same customer that launched the Viasat 3 Americas payload back in April of 2023, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. But I don't know. I don't think we know at this point whether or not these side cores are going to be recovered or if it's going to be a fully expended Falcon Heavy at this point. But nonetheless, we have a 3-core Falcon Heavy coming up in the very near future, hopefully, given that all goes well and all the checkouts happen on time and everyone's happy, because we haven't seen one here in, again, like a year and a half. It's a rare beast. Actually, Falcon Heavy has flown the exact same number of times as Starship Super Heavy in this full stack configuration, which is kind of scary because Falcon Heavy launched for the first time way back eight years ago in 2018, and since then it has only flown 11 times, and so it's currently, there's kind of a race between Artemis 2, Starship Flight 12, and New Glenn Flight 3 in terms of who is going to fly first, but also internally at SpaceX, at least for us, from the outside, who is launching first, Starship Flight 12 or Falcon Heavy Flight 12 technically now as well. So curious to see. There's a lot coming up hopefully in the next month and a half or 2 months, but that is currently on the docket hopefully at the end of April.
Very good. T-minus 36 minutes, we're into the realm now of basically trying to find out if they have begun prop loading. This is going to be not just a go, no go for prop load, but also for the mission today, because they have no time remaining, even if they hold now. Max, am I correct in saying that? If they even hold now and they don't start prop loading, it's still a scrub because they've got no window left.
Correct. Yeah, they are already at the end of the window, which closes at 10:35 a.m. local time here on the east coast of Florida. Even though the current T0 is 10:20, there is not another opportunity left in the window. So whether or not they do or don't go into prop load at this point, they are not able to hold any longer. So if they do not go at 10:20, it is a no-go for today, and I believe they will try again tomorrow.
Okay, I will need an Alex level interruption if we get word either ways of prop loading. In the meantime, Marty, I'm going to give you a question that's non-technical, but it's something I'd be fascinated to know the answer from, and I'll be asking everybody else, but I'll start with you, Marty. Cron wants to know, if you could have joined one space mission, past or future, which one would you have wanted to experience?
Ooh, that is a good question. I will be honest, I've never really thought about this. It's not that I don't ever want to go to space, but it's not on the top of my mind. But I was just like praising Discovery for launching Hubble. But I think it would be nice to be on one of the Hubble repair or refurbishment missions. So, yeah, that might be one of the past missions that I would want to have joined.
Well said, because I'll go second now, because I was going to say the same thing. I was going to go on a Hubble mission, because those 5 EVAs in a row, and just the fact that it's the highest orbit the space shuttle would go to. There was one mission that went slightly higher, but there was basically Hubble servicing missions were the highest altitude shuttles were destined to go on for actual missions like that. So yeah, that was something I would want to see the Earth from. People would go, Chris, you're crazy. Surely the lunar missions, surely the polar missions. I don't know. Something about my shuttle, love would maybe want to go on shuttle and on one of those main shuttle missions. I'm going to go Max next. What mission would you have gone on?
At the risk of sounding like a broken record with you two, I was going to say STS-125 in the final in the final mission to service Hubble before it was retired. So, yeah, for me, it is no doubt STS-125.
Yes, because Max wanted to go on the best shuttle. Very well said, Max. Mad with power. I can move on. Is Jerry on comm still, or is Jerry still fighting bags over cameras? Oh, Jerry is unmuted. Jerry, what mission would you have gone on?
Oh, is this strictly shuttle? I missed the beginning part of this conversation.
Any mission.
Any mission. Oh, see, that makes it harder because there's so many things to think about now. Oh, geez. I mean, let me think about this for a second.
Yeah, I can come back to you, Jerry, if you want.
Yeah.
Jerry's taking this question very seriously. In the meanwhile, Paul has become a Padrat member. Welcome, Paul. Thank you very much for your support. And Bideford, there we go. Bideford, every single time I'm on a stream, at the very least, I know it's Bideford, but I've watched streams where I'm in the background not talking, and I see Bideford's name every single time. Do we know when SpaceX will have new landing zones for the boosters in Florida? Max, Slick 40 for a start, but is that the only one we're going to have?
So, from our understanding now, the only new LZ or landing zone over at the Cape is at Pad 40, and SpaceX still reserves the right to use LZ2 when needed, aka a Falcon Heavy. So, we were under the impression for a while that they were going to build a twin set of LZs over at Pad 39A for Falcon Heavy to bring both boosters back in the same location, but we haven't really seen any signs of that happening really. So I think they currently only have Pad 40 and LZ2 if they need it. But Pad 40 will function as the primary LZ. But I don't think there are any plans at the moment, at least from what we can see, about new LZs, apart from those now going in place for Starship, being the tower at LC-39A and both catch towers over at Pad 37 eventually.
Very good, yes. And of course, LZ1 and LZ2 have been handed over. One has gone to Phantom Space. We wonder if they'll actually ever do something with it. Hopefully, because we want to see more rocket companies come to the forefront. There's a lot of rocket companies to come. I think people lose track, and I don't blame them for it. There's no insult in saying this because I forget myself sometimes, but we've got Relativity and Stoke Space out on the East Coast who are going to be fantastic to follow. I mean, they are if you think about it, Terran R is going to become fully reusable. It's already aiming to be reusable with the booster. It's going to be aiming for full reusability at some point in its lifetime, in its life expansion. And Stoke Space, my goodness me, they are super exciting. I mean, Max, I'm coming back to you every single time, Max, because you're there all the time. Stoke Space and Relativity Space, talk about those two and your aspirations and what they're going to bring to the Space Coast.
Oh boy. Well, I want to see Terran R flying as soon as possible because the poor that sounds wrong. The poor people there, but the company with Relativity, they've only flown once, and that being Terran 1 back in the spring of 2023. And that was the one and only flight of a 3D printed rocket that had a very thorough testing campaign over at LC-16. And now that after one,
hold that thought. Oh.
Frost? Really?
Frost. We have Frost. So they're propellant loading. Sorry, Max, continue. I did an Alex impression for you there, but continue with your talk about Stoke and Relativity.
Well, first and foremost, I'm genuinely surprised. I don't want to sound like a pessimist here, But I'm genuinely surprised that they are going for this. But that is good news. At least they're trying and hopeful. But to get back to that, they right after the flight of Terran 1, LC-16 was completely reworked and is currently being prepped for Terran R, which is a much larger launch vehicle. I believe it is larger than Falcon 9 if I have if my memory's correct, which is already insane. I think it has like 13 engines on the first stage or something. It's going to be an absolutely nuts launch vehicle and a pleasure to see fly. But right next door to it at LC-14 is where Stoke has been modifying the pad that John Glenn launched from to fly their Nova launch vehicle, which is also fully reusable both on the first and second stages. Although their upper stage is even more interesting than I think anything else currently flying because it is using a multi-chamber setup or multi. How do I say what's the best way to say this? A multi-combustion chamber setup lining the entire diameter of the stage to more or less function as an aerospike in the vacuum of space, not just for ascent but descent as well. And the heat shield is actively cooled by the fuel, and it runs on LH2, just like SLS, Delta 4, and the upper stages of Vulcan and also New Glenn. So, if anything, I'm the most excited. I think for Nova, just because of the amount of progress that we've seen both at the pad and also from a hardware standpoint from Stoke. Because more or less, the pad right now is basically done. It is almost ready, if not ready right now, to accept a vehicle. And so I think Stoke is aiming to have a vehicle out at the pad at some point later this year, probably maybe late summer Q3, maybe Q4. But they are aiming to try and fly this year, and that may be optimistic, and maybe they'll pull it off. I'm not sure. But yeah, those are two brand new launch vehicles coming to both LC-16 and LC-14 respectively. So yeah, those are going to be two ones to for sure keep an eye on. But hopefully, because we are due for some more rockets here and bringing back missile row into this modern age.
Very good. Marty, we're at T-minus 27 minutes. I know everyone who's probably a regular will know there's definitely one milestone coming up, the T-minus 20-minute event. But what's the main event? Oh, here we go. There's the timeline left-hand side. Thank you, Jay, for that. So we can talk about this timeline, can't we, Marty?
We can. Yeah, so, well, just over 10 minutes ago now, it appears that the launch director verified go for launch. Go for propellant load. Because, well, we can see the frost building up on the booster, so that definitely means that they are loading propellant right now. They're currently loading only 3 of the 4 main tanks on the vehicle. There are 2 tanks on the first stage, 2 on the second stage. One for each stage. It's like 1 for the RP1 propellant, so the liquid kerosene, and 1 for liquid oxygen. And on the first stage, they are loading both tanks, and on the second stage, they're only loading the RP1 or kerosene tank right now. But they will get to loading the liquid oxygen tank on the second stage in about 10 minutes. And the T-minus 20-minute vent we were talking about is actually in preparation of that loading step, because the liquid oxygen is so cold that they have to pre-chill the lines that are flowing into the tank, and in that process they will vent some of that liquid oxygen into the atmosphere, which create that cloud of probably water vapor or ice, which we like to see at T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds. But then at T-minus 16 minutes, the actual loading of the second stage liquid oxygen tank will start. Then we wind forward quite a bit, because at T-minus 7 minutes, Falcon 9 will begin engine chill. So then the engines on the first stage will be pre-chilled to get ready for that super cold propellant again, just like the lines that are used for loading the second stage. Then at T-minus 5 minutes, the strong back will retract, the clamps will unleash, and then it will just retract a few degrees so the rocket stands on its own. Then at T-minus 3 minutes and 10 seconds, liquid oxygen load on the stage 1 is complete, and 1 minute after that on stage 2. Then at T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 will turn into startup, which means that the onboard computers take over control of the countdown and of the rocket. T minus 45 seconds, the launch director verifies go for launch. And then at T minus 3 seconds, the engines will ignite. And then, of course, at T minus 0, Falcon 9 will lift off the pad. And at that point also, the strong back will retract fully to give the rocket space to leave for space.
Very good. Thank you, Marty. Yeah. We do have people. Josh, it was a jovial comment, by the way. All the camera shake makes me think Denzel Washington maker walking by. Regardless, you're all doing great. Jerry, it's very windy, isn't it? Windy is not good for cameras and shaking.
No, this wind is not really good for a lot of things. I do believe they've launched in some winds like this, unfortunately. But yeah, there's only so much to do when we're sitting here at, 800 to 1,000 millimeters, and any minuscule bump of this camera in this wind is this magnified, that many times. So we're doing our best out here, but it's definitely some very blustery and gusty conditions out today.
Yep, I need to go out there and experience it myself because I'm a terrible complainer in the background. Yeah, I always go oh, it's a bit shaky, isn't it? The camera's a bit shaky. And then Max and Jerry and the likes will all sort of frown at me and go, well, it's very, very windy. It's not easy to keep a camera stable in this kind of wind.
Come do it yourself, Chris.
Yes, regardless of all these professional tripods and what have you. But there we go. Because I am completely clueless with cameras. Gage in the background now is out there at Starbase. He will tell me about things they do with the robots out there. And I'll see him in conversations with likes of Jay about the technicals. And I'm reading it and going, I don't understand a word they're talking about. I haven't got a clue. So I'm thankful for our amazing team in the background allowing us to do this because I wouldn't have a clue. I really wouldn't. There'd be no YouTube channel for a start. There certainly wouldn't be. Moving back onto the rocket, actually the view we saw earlier was when we were bagging the cameras from the rain, we saw the VAB car park. And Blows must have spotted a van because what was that truck in the bottom right? It looks like he's carrying a BE4. Well, we don't know what's inside vans most of the time, and you can expect lots of vans in the KSE car park. But Max, for kind of orientation purposes, would Blue Origin be moving anything around in that area? Because isn't Blue's pad way away from where the VAB is?
Yeah, so basically Launch Complex 36 is where they launched New Glenn from, and that is literally almost as far south as you can get on the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, which is a whole different piece of property compared to the Kennedy Space Center. But more often than not, depending on what hardware you had to move around, and with their factory being right outside the KSC gates, right there at the Rocket Park by the visitor complex, to get first stage boosters, to get GS2 also as well, they have to roll them around here by the press site and by the VAB because that avoids any causeways or bridges of which the boosters really cannot travel over because they'll bend. And of course, you don't want that on a piece of hardware that valuable and important and fragile, I think, in some areas. So they move stuff or hardware past the press site here, but we have also seen them testing fairing recovery here in the turn basin itself as well, with some cranes and some practice fairings as well. But otherwise, there really isn't a need for them to be over here. But we will still see hardware moving around over here, whether it be forward modules, aft modules, booster tank sections, whole boosters, GS2s. We do see that from time to time, although there is some hardware that they can bring over the NASA Causeway and go right onto the over on the Space Force base over there. So sometimes out of the view of our cameras, but there is some hardware that is not avoidable at that point as well. So sometimes, but not always.
Very good. Now, milestone time. We're expecting in any second now, coming up very close to the T-minus 20-minute event. Marty, as soon as you start seeing the event, let's talk about
I'm seeing it.
There we go. Why is it venting, Marty?
So it's about halfway up the tower from this perspective, just behind the trees. But it's actually not up the tower, it's up the strong back. So the structure that rolled Falcon 9 out to the pad and now holds it up. And the structure also contains some umbilicals that they use to load the second stage. And that is related to this vent. Because in just a few minutes, SpaceX will start launching liquid oxygen onto this second stage. And that stuff is so cold that they have to pre-chill the lines and make sure that the lines are prepared for the thermal shock, or, well, they won't be thermally shocked, actually. So to do so, they run some of the liquid oxygen through the lines, and they're venting it into the atmosphere, which results into this cloud of water vapor condensing, which we can see right now. And then as soon as that turns off at T-minus 16 minutes, then they will actually have started flowing liquid oxygen into the stage. So this is a very nice indicator and one of the most visual indicators in the countdown of the status of the process.
Very good. Thank you very much, Marty. I was just quickly bandycamming a clip for the T-minus 20-minute event, and that is now posted. That just reminds people we are still on track, and that is my way of saying the launch has gone to propellant load and we're on track for a launch, pending weather, as my speaker starts pinging at me for no reason whatsoever. But I do have another question related to overall missions for Starlink, and that is from Sayed, who asks, in 2018, did you expect Starlinks to hit 10,000 mark? It's a good question, because I think a lot of people saw the expectations on this constellation of Starlinks and thought, well, that is super ambitious. I don't think they really will get to that kind of level. But Max, they have achieved it thanks to the launch cadence and the fact that they've got this reusability in the bag for the boosters. I mean, it is impressive, isn't it?
It really is. And that was also a statement and a goal made when Falcon 9 had a similar launch cadence to what we see now with Starship being once every few months on average, and maybe only a handful of launches at most per year. So at that point in time, to launch thousands and thousands and thousands of satellites for a constellation was kind of hard to wrap your head around. But now, obviously, we're seeing it with Falcon 9 now flying on average every 2 to 4 days, with them being able to turn around Pad 40 so quickly. And we're sort of in a similar stage with Starship now, in that it's hard to see them flying more than every few months. Granted, it's a vehicle that operates, it's much more powerful, it requires a lot more propellant, and is a lot more ambitious for what SpaceX wants to do with it, with the Starlink version 3 satellites, and then also with the in-orbit data centers that they want to have employed as well. But give them 5 or 10 years, and we will see how good they can make Starship be, especially with version 3 coming online, and that being the first operational variant, hopefully soon, and then maybe we'll have version 4 by that time as well. But I think just the overall lesson here is just give SpaceX some time, and they will figure out a way to figure it out. And Falcon 9 has proven to be the absolute world-class workhorse that it has been, not just for launching Starlinks, but also for any other commercial payload as well, in addition to astronauts to the International Space Station and other destinations as well. So Falcon 9 is kind of a jack of all trades, on top of being able to be reusable, which plays in part in keeping the cost down and why it's able to fly so often.
Yeah, Marty, let's talk about this constellation I was talking about. Constellation is where you've got a massive satellites in orbit in these trains around the Earth to provide the coverage for the Starlink internet to the people, the consumers on the Earth itself. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, this question I think is very interesting, because indeed the constellation has hit the 10,000 mark quite a while ago, actually. Because by now they have launched 11,000, with this launch, including this launch, if it goes up in just a few minutes, they will have launched 11,587 satellites. So that is well past 10,000. And honestly, if you asked me in 2018 if that would happen, I could only see that happen if SpaceX massively ramped up the Falcon 9 cadence, and that's exactly what they did. But that doesn't mean that there are like 11,000 and a bit Starlink satellites in orbit right now, because 1,511 have actually re-entered. So there are just over 10,000 satellites in orbit. And about 7,900 of those are currently in their operational orbit. So Falcon 9 will deliver the satellites into a lower orbit, and from there they will raise their own orbit to, well, what's called their operational orbit. So that takes the satellites quite a while. So you can see that there are about 2,000 satellites currently not in that orbit. But I believe that they do function to some extent at that point. But yeah, it's quite impressive to look at these numbers, and there's no other constellation of satellites that has reached this, this size by an order of magnitude, or probably even a couple orders of magnitude.
Very good. Under T-minus 15 minutes, I'm hearing in the back room that it's raining again, Max.
Well, it's certainly about to. I'm keeping an eye on the radar to also keep Jerry informed and alert about what's going on, because weather can change here super fast, and the last thing we want to do is have him stranded out there and get the cameras wet. It looks like Pad 40 might already beginning to see some rainfall by it, and just from what we are seeing on the radar, we have certainly some more rain coming in right now. So that's why I was kind of surprised when they went into prop load and was going for it, because there's still some weather out in the Atlantic northeast of the pad coming this way. But if there's ever a time to really test with what Falcon 9 can do in terms of its limits and what weather it can launch in, it's for whenever SpaceX is launching their own payload, aka Starlink satellites. So, it's not like Booster 1077 is a spring chicken anymore. This is its 27th flight, so it would not be the end of the world if they lost it, although not ideal either. But more or less, they're launching their own payloads gives them a bit more flexibility in terms of seeing just how good Falcon 9 can be. But I do have to say, as actually we are losing sight of the pad as I speak, with it beginning to haze over, that is a lot of rain coming this way. So we'll see.
It certainly is an interesting comparison to we're just talking about just how many satellites they have in orbit, and 29 less it just seems minuscule when you consider the grand scheme of things.
It is crazy. I mean, again, most people who may be just joining and not seeing many launches will think, well, there's no chance of launching this one at all. Never bet against SpaceX. They are the nearest to the Soyuz of American rocket industry. The Soyuz would launch in a snowstorm with thunderstorms in the background. Soyuz just doesn't scrub for anything, weather. But obviously, American rockets tend to have obvious contingencies and parameters they have to adhere to. But this does not mean scrub at all. The S word, which we should never mention, which I just did.
Oh, you just said the word, Chris.
I know. I just realised what I did there. There we go. Not to worry. I don't think there's such a thing as a jinx over our live comms errors such as that, so that's fine. I wanted to make a point now about the cadence of Falcon 9. I'd be remiss not to mention the fact that the Slick 40 pad team must be the best pad team in the world. They turn around that pad in a day or two. It's crazy how fast they turn around this single pad. All these launches we've seen, including Slick 4A, by the way, in Vandenberg, they turn it around amazingly. Don't they, Max? It's crazy cadence for a launch pad.
It is, and it's also worth mentioning that 40 was originally designed for a totally different rocket, being Titan 3 and Titan 4, and SpaceX has made it their own for what it can handle in terms of Falcon 9. Pad 39A is different in being that it's a lot more wide open. You have the FSS or the fixed service structure over there as well. Flame Trench is of a way different design. The pad layout's different in terms of the tanks and everything else. So, but Pad 40 has been optimized for Falcon 9 use specifically. So teams there, especially with the more experience that they get, know how to turn around the systems rather quickly, whether it be with the GSE side or with the transporter erector specifically, or just a whole bunch of other factors. The team over at Pad 40 are certainly animals, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, they really are. Amazing cadence. Coming up on T-minus 10 minutes, it's a good opportunity while we're just waiting to see what happens here to have a little chat about the store, because we do have lots of cool things in the store, which I personally have adorning my wall to the right-hand side of where I am right now, to which I always have mentioned before. I tend to shove my friends when they come around and visit me. I shove them into this room just to show them the metal prints we've got, because they're amazing on the wall. Wallpaper is no longer required. Now you can have metal rocket prints on your wall. We even have really high quality paper as well. It is really, really cool stuff to have on your wall, I must admit. And it is one way of the natural version of commerce. People go, why are you mentioning the store, Chris? We're just here for the rocket launch. The reason is because we have to cover our costs in bringing you all this for free on the internet via YouTube. But one way of supporting us is getting something cool in a personal return. That's what I always say about the store as well. And also, I think for members, any member level, you tend to get little sneak peeks of something special we're bringing out. Example being today, if you're a member of any level, keep an eye on L2 on the YouTube community area. We have something we've been working on forever, which is amazing. You'll get first chance of getting it, because obviously that is your opportunity as a member to get the first look at this. It is something special. I'm not going to mention what it is, because I'm not sure what I can mention about it. But just basically, if you remember, look out for the community areas or L2. I'll post in L2 as well for L2 members, where you get an opportunity to see that as well. Great. So we can move back on to the rocket launch at T-9 minutes. We no longer can see the rocket. It's raining that hard. Oh, my word. Max, what's your thoughts about this?
I'm waiting for, to be completely honest, I'm more on the side of waiting for an alert about the clock resetting for tomorrow, to be honest with you, because obviously not being able to see the pad due to rainfall is not a good sign of things trending in the right direction at all, because there does not seem to be, and there's still a lot of weather offshore right now directly in the flight path of Falcon 9, which of course I think by that point it wouldn't exactly be over, and it would still be quite an interference. So I'm more or less standing by for some news, or if SpaceX even goes live at this point, but we don't know anything officially yet. Anything could happen right now.
Yep. Let's see. So far, there's no sign of the S word, which I won't mention again because I mentioned it once and I'm already going to fire myself. I'll be speaking to myself in the mirror after this stream, telling myself off for mentioning the S word. But so far, so good. We're continuing. And SpaceX is live.
Hey.
So as far as they're concerned, they're going for launch because their live stream is up. We can interject their live stream footage into ours, which is handy when we can't see the rocket from our own cameras. I would say it's still better than Vandenberg, isn't it, Jerry? Imagine being out in Vandenberg covering launches. You'd be thinking even the SpaceX cameras on the pad can't see the rocket.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, this is a little bit of a different thing here. I got up to, it's feeling some raindrops, so I'm going to bag the wide camera here, but you can still see it from their cameras. You definitely can't see it from ours, though, today. At least not right now.
Yeah. They tend to be very big on mentioning the fact that they've got Starlinks. Their adverts about Starlinks is completely understandable. They don't live stream just for the fun of it and just for public outreach. They live stream because they want to show what they can do, not only to other launch customers who they may be looking to snag in the future, but also to customers of Starlink. Starlink is a commercial operation. And I'll tell you one thing, it's working out very well for them. I now know lots of friends who've got Starlinks. If you're in the city like I am, yeah, sure, I've got fibre, so I'm fine. But I've got friends who are like 5 miles out of York who are out in the countryside and they've got like no internet connections of any note at all. They've now got Starlinks and they've now got proper internet broadband, which is like fast speed as I have. It really is impressive how that has changed the realm of being able to be connected to the internet when you're not in a city. I mean, this is the UK. You'd expect the UK to have complete full coverage. It's not. It really isn't. You go from North York Moors, that area, there's nothing out there of any use on any kind of speed level. Starlink solves that problem. So that is a good example, a real example of friends who have got Starlink, and it's changed it for them. So fair play, it does work. T-minus 6 minutes to launch. We're still going for it. There's a port view, by the way. That's where the boosters return to when they've landed on the drone ships and brought back into port. There is a view of the rocket itself, completely masked by the ITAR fog. It's actually a rain cloud there. What is that NASA sign, Max? What building is that with the NASA sign on it? I've always wondered that myself.
So that is the NASA News Center. So that is where the public affairs officers here at the KSC press site are based. That is also where some members of the media can go whenever it's open for operations during like crew launch or any other NASA mission to do work. Inside, there's some work desks in there. That they also have some TVs in there for live feeds as well. I know that building is going to be very busy come time to launch Artemis 2. But that is the big old meatball you see there. That is the very top of the NASA News Center.
Very good. We're still counting. Alex is keeping a very close eye in the background on SpaceX's internal countdown. It's T-minus 6 minutes. It was still counting, so they're still going for it. Again, they can take it all the way down to the final minute. They can do that. They can give it a chance. Maybe the weather is no-go right now, but they'll say, let's just take it down all the way. Might as well. We've prop loaded. Let's go all the way down to the go, no-go from the launch director, and then we'll know if they're going to go for it or not. So that's something we'll do. Marty, in the meantime, I have more Falcon Heavy questions. People have people have forgotten about Falcon Heavy. I don't mean everybody. Some people have forgotten about Falcon Heavy, and I don't blame them because it was about Falcon 9 launching left, right, and center, and the promise of Starship coming up. So people think Falcon 9 Starship, and they go, oh, hang on a minute, Falcon Heavy, forgot about that. Jake wants to know, do you think it's feasible for SpaceX to start ramping up Falcon Heavy launches to the frequency we've seen with Falcon 9? And what kind of missions would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to be a pessimist because I love seeing Falcon. I'd like to be an optimist because I love seeing Falcon Heavy launch. I didn't catch that call out, but I hope it wasn't too important. But I love seeing Falcon Heavy launch. But the pessimist in me wants to say that they don't really need it for all that many missions. Like Falcon 9 is more than good enough for hundreds of missions we've seen, and if they really wanted Falcon Heavy to fly a lot, I'm sure they could have done it, but there just aren't that many payloads that require a rocket as big as Falcon Heavy. Not right now, at least. And of course, that might change because SpaceX has been introducing Starship, and we've seen companies actually design, and not just companies, also agencies like NASA. We've seen them actually start design missions for a rocket that big, both in terms of diameter and payload volume, but also in mass to orbit capability. But that lags well beyond the actual capability of the rockets, like years beyond that, because people first need to see these rockets fly and be reliable before they actually start assigning payloads for it. And we've also seen that with the Falcon Heavy manifest. Like it started with only a few launches, and then they added more and more launches to the manifest as Falcon Heavy flew a couple of times and proved itself to be a reliable vehicle. So, yeah, I don't know we'll ever see Falcon Heavy ramp up to a frequency as frequent as Falcon 9, especially because by the time it will, Starship is there to take over, I hope. But what kind of missions would I like to see? I love science missions. Like, send some telescopes up into space, send some big probes to the outskirts of the solar system, and that is exactly the kind of stuff that a big rocket with heavy lift capability is excellent for. So, that's my personal opinion on these kinds of missions, and I'm sure that some of my colleagues on stream might have other opinions.
Well, we're going to go to the actual launch countdown events. With T-minus 2 minutes, so rather than going through the other missions of preference from our team out there, let's talk about this rocket launch that may be occurring in less than 120 seconds' time. We are now coming up. The countdown's continuing, but again, we've got the go no go from the launch director coming up about T-minus 35 seconds. But for now, Marty, what's the next major events in this countdown towards launch?
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
The rocket LOX load is complete. That's the first thing. And after that, at T-minus 1 minute, so in about half a minute from now, Falcon 9 will turn into startup. And that means that the onboard computers of Falcon 9 will take over the control of the launch countdown sequence and the control of the rocket. And after that, the launch director will verify go for launch. And if we're going for launch, then 3 seconds, T-minus 3 seconds, Falcon 9 will ignite its engines so it can lift off at T0. So that's it. We can already see the strong back has opened its clamps at the top, and it's slightly retracted by just a few degrees, but at liftoff it will throw back even further to give the rocket all the space it needs to lift off.
Yep, here we go. We're coming up on the big key point now for the launch director.
Yeah.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
In startup. Next call is the launch director.
LD, go for launch.
Yeah.
What?
Go for launch.
Wow.
Who cares about weather? Who cares about weather?
Wow.
Told you, never bet against SpaceX. Right. For the launch itself, we will be quiet. We'll be quiet during the launch because we want to hear rocket noises, not us talking with rocket noises in the background. So we won't hear much commentary for now, but let's good luck for the launch. Godspeed, Falcon 9. There's liftoff confirmation, by the way. You'll hear the rocket noise, hopefully coming through from microphones from a few miles away any second now.
Falcon is supersonic. XQ.
There we go. Nominal engine performance, max Q, and the supersonic going through now. Coming up on about 30 seconds, if not 40 seconds, to staging. 1-2 set. And then we'll see the booster returning. And the second stage taking the Starlinks out to its destination orbit. The engine chill is there as preparation for the second stage. That is the MVAC. Two minutes into flight. About 20 seconds or so from staging.
Nominal trajectory.
It's looking good
That
so
means the
far.
rocket's on track.
And just for anyone watching, like our views are slightly out of sync because of the latency of the SpaceX stream. So up top is the actual countdown of the actual time, and on the bottom is SpaceX's time with the slight latency.
I always like to say that's because we're slightly from the future, but it's not the case. It's just the way the SpaceX feed goes through the internet and comes back. Staging.
Yeah. That looks clean.
Stage 2 startup.
There we go. Onto the MVAC. And the booster will now start returning for its landing on a drone ship.
Just read the instructions. Stationed out in the Atlantic.
And so far, the two drone ships are coping fine. We've got one drone ship, obviously, on the west coast. They are coping with the cadence. There was a question in chat. People are saying they need a drone ship. They are looking at drone ship options. They're looking also at a barge to transport starships from Florida, from Texas to Florida as well. So that's all coming up soon. But so far, they're coping quite well. Yep. There's the Starlinks.
Now, just like
to space.
Turnaround of Falcon 9s and launch pads and everything, they've also managed to turn around, increase the turnaround time of the. Sorry, I'm saying the wrong words. Decrease the turnaround time of the drone ships. So nowadays, the drone ships just go out, grab a booster, come back in, go out, and so on and so on. So yeah, they're coping very well with this increased cadence.
I always like to point out left-hand side of the booster, the view from the booster, how it's still advancing, should we say, at 7,000 miles per hour, 7,000 kilometers an hour. It's still 110 miles up, but you can see it's orientating. It is preparing for that return back down, and it will increase velocity. It'll do a 1-3-1 firing of the engines. As I mentioned on the last previous Starlink stream that I was doing, it's called by the SpaceX as a surfboard of fire, because that is protecting it during the re-entry part, otherwise it would break up. And then the final burn will be a single engine burn as it guides itself back down to the drone ship. It is incredibly hard how they've pulled this off. The programming, the software, the way the engines gimbal, the way the grid fins help as well. It is incredibly hard to pull this off, and it's become routine, which is a horrible word in spaceflight, but it has become routine. And it is something where it's also been sort of like portrayed in Starship. It's a different kind of return for Starship, but there is this kind of technology and experience. And in people, including Lars Blackmore, who worked on Falcon 9 returns, now working on Starship, has employed into the Starship program. So whenever you think, really, can they really start catching ships as well as the boosters? Yes, I would not bet against them being successful to the rate we're seeing with Falcon 9.
I fully agree with that. When SpaceX first started talking about reusing Falcon 9s, everyone was looking at them like, you're crazy, you're not going to do this. And now it's so normal for us that it seems weird that you wouldn't reuse a booster. So I'm totally confident that they will be able to pull it off at the same frequency or even higher with Starship.
SpaceX has refined the plans. The announcement from Elon at the press club back in the day when he talked about full reusability of Falcon 9 was the booster returning, was the second stage also with the heat shield on returning for landing, and the Super Draco has been used for landing the actual Dragon on land as well. It was a complete full reusability plan, but they refined it, knowing that it was a case of let's bring the boosters back, let's not worry about the upper stages. And now they have moved on to Starship for that full reusability, along with what's called rapid full reusability, which is where it's a turnaround situation.
Can't wait to see it.
Stage 1.
Entry burn next. There it is.
Yeah. That's 3 engines now.
131.
Stage 1 entry shutdown.
That's complete.
And you can see just in the final seconds, it goes back to 1 engine before shutting down completely.
Got 2 nominal trajectories.
You can see the ACS now helping with the steering, with the orientation of the stage as it comes back down.
It's actually very interesting how it does that. Like, it first needs some RCS to be able to steer when it's outside of the atmosphere, then it will switch over to the grid fins. And then closer to landing, the landing burn will also help with steering a bit. So it's multiple systems making sure that this booster comes back to the right place at the right time in the right orientation. It's very impressive. You can really see them do the work right now with the booster wiggling around.
Yep, it's hitting the atmosphere now. That's where the grid fins help as well. The grid fins now getting employed. You'll see them wiggling as well, the final part during landing, just aiding the pinpointing of the booster onto the drone ships. Potential bullseye coming up.
Yeah.
The speed decreasing, 5 kilometers up.
It's decreasing so quickly.
Landing burn.
There we go.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 has entered terminal guidance.
There's a drone ship.
Stage 1 landing light deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And that's landing. Couldn't see it at first because the camera was dirty, but
we couldn't. Yeah, but that did look like a bullseye. That did look like a bullseye to me.
Definitely did. Yes.
It doesn't matter too much as long as it's on the deck and an Octograbber, their fun robot, which they never really mention, which really deserves a mention because it is a bit of a superstar as far as recovering the boosters goes and make sure they don't start toppling off the deck, which nearly happened several times. By the way, nominal orbital insertions, that's good as well with the second stage shutdown. So that's all gone well. But yeah, the Octograbber goes out there and literally does what its name suggests. It grabs the octaweb of the after the Falcon 9 booster and allows it to be secured on deck. They used to have to weld the legs to the deck of the drone ship, which obviously would affect turnaround time. So that's something that's aided with that as well. Replay time, from what we can see at least.
It's not that much to see, but there's something at least.
The fact that they even launched at all, I'm almost lost for words. Like, they actually threaded the needle here. They actually did it.
Yeah.
But why am I surprised? Why am I surprised? Genuinely.
I wonder, Max, if they took any extra risk that they wouldn't take on a customer mission because this is Starlink, or if this is just something that looks bad but is perfectly within the parameters of what they can do. What do you think about that?
It does make you wonder. Maybe it's worth poking Kiko Donchev on social media about, perhaps.
For sure. I think because the longstanding rule has always been a big red no is flight through precipitation. And as you saw, like even on the SpaceX pad cameras, it was raining like actively, like T minus a minute. And it was like during liftoff was actively raining on my head here at the press site. Obviously, we're, a couple miles away here, but that's not a long distance.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's something we'll ask Eco and find out what his parameters are on the allowance. They would not launch with risk, by the way. So they are probably got parameters such as customer missions where they'll say, well, we have to be a bit more kind of like conservative. But in this case, they've still launched with parameters allowing the rocket to launch. And look at what's happened. It's been completely fine. It's landed fine. So that's perfectly justification for that. There we go. And that's all our replays done. So I'm sure Max is not gutted the fact that it did launch, because otherwise you'd be out for the SLS roll and then another Starlink attempt. So that's one thing. We've got the next thing coming up, which is the SLS rollout, by the way. That is something we're doing live coverage for later on today. The first motion is currently 8 p.m. local time. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll start live coverage at 8 p.m. because it takes a long while before we actually can see the rocket leaving the VAB, high bay. But either way, we're covering it live. That is a massive thing to follow with the SLS. Ahead of what is one of the biggest missions for NASA in decades, the Artemis 2 mission, a crew of 4 around the moon, which is going to be a major thing. Currently, net April the 1st. Again, set your expectations accordingly. It could move a few days either side or whatever. That's fine. Or into April, I should say. But until then, until that coverage of the SLS rollout, let me thank you for being on with this one. Start with Jay Keegan, who is our producer. Thank you, Jay, for producing the stream for us. That has been very much required and helpful for you. Also, Jerry Pike out there at Florida. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks, Chris.
Yep, sorry, for sure. I'm still here. I'm back on my phone and AirPods. It's a little bit more than the typical audio setup, but yeah, it's been certainly a very, very interesting launch today, and glad that we got to potentially see something groundbreaking maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, if you like my numpty voice, I'll be on the upside at 2 p.m. Central Time today on the Starbase Live. Did I say Space Coast Live? No, that's the side. It's on Starbase Live. That's what we're talking on there. So we're talking about all things Starship, if you're into that sort of thing, which I'm sure most of you probably are. Also, thanks to Gage in the background for working the robotic cameras. And also thank you to Marty. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks for having me. It was great to watch the launch today, but I would be absolutely lying if I said that I expected it to lift off.
Yep, to be fair, I was kind of thinking, I was waiting for the launch director to say, no go, sorry, weather constraint, but no, they got through it. Thanks also to Max. Thank you, Max, for being out there all night.
Yeah, pleasure as always, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us. And that was one of the most surprising missions I think we have ever covered here, at least on the Space Coast of Florida, in terms of it lifting off. But that is step number 1 for the day, and there is a lot more to come.
Very good. Right, until the next stream, which will be the Raptor side and then followed by the SLS rollout. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, goodbye.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did you just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.